Hey, it's Thursday afternoon, the day that I talk marriage, and I'm Leslie Dories, your marriage coach and creator of the Hero Husband Project and owner of Foundations Coaching. And I'm here to talk about a topic that is really, really hard and really, really hurtful. And that's the idea of a sexless marriage. Now, the specific definition of a sexless marriage is if you have not been sexually intimate more than 10 times in the last 12 months. So basically less than once a month. Now, if you and your partner are happy with that, great. It doesn't qualify as a sexless marriage. You guys are good. Everything's fine. The problem comes in is when one of you's okay with that or actually wants less sex and your partner is not. Now, it frequently falls out that men want more sex, but not always. Sometimes it's women. And here's where the challenge comes in because it's a really, really, really hard thing to talk about. And the person who wants less intimacy is what we call the gatekeeper. And they're the ones who determine how much. And here's another little fact about this. Um, Most of the time, it's, I don't want to be intimate with you, but you dang well better not be intimate with anybody else. So it's a real catch 22 for the people who want more intimacy and are not getting it. And one of my hard and fast rules about marriage is that one person, does not get to opt out of a major aspect of the relationship. And intimacy is a major aspect of the relationship. Um, and it isn't just about the physical act, it's about the connection. It's about feeling close to the person that you married to. It's feeling rejected when somebody tells you no all the time. It's a really, really, really hard thing to live with. And most people do not want to get divorced. Um, I remember having a client years and years and years ago, and he said to me, he was Leslie. He said, I would promise to never have sex again if my wife would just hug me. And I looked at him and I said, okay, first off, that you'd be making a deal with the devil, but I hear you. I understand. And the amount of pain that was in my client's voice was devastating. He felt completely unloved and rejected. And that's not how anybody wants to feel in a marriage. And but here's the thing. Many of these people don't want to be divorced either. So they're between a rock and a hard place, and you may be one of them. You may be caught in this horrible, horrible place of having to feel alone in your marriage to maintain being part of your family. And again, like I said to my previous client, that's a deal with the devil. It shouldn't be an either or. And it's not about making threats, but it is about really sharing with your partner that this is not okay. Now, there are a lot of reasons why marriages end up sexless. Sometimes there's a physiological reason for it. And so, one of the things that I recommend is that if you are the person who wants to be less intimate, then go see your doctor. Make sure that you are physically okay. Sometimes it's physically painful to have sex with your partner. Check that out. There are things that can be done about this. You don't have to live that way. And by the way, it's like, I get it. If it hurts, I wouldn't want to do it either. So, but that's just one thing. There's a lot of medications that are out there, specifically the anti-anxiety and the anti-depression medications that wreak havoc with somebody's libido. There are other alternatives. There are There are alternative medications, and there is actual really good um, therapy out there. Cognitive behavioral therapy is highly effective with mood disorders. So there's alternatives to drugs. If you are, and again, if you are seriously, struggling with this, absolutely. I'm not saying anybody should get off their medication. I'm just saying look into it. Okay. You want to deal with the physical. And sometimes people don't have, they have shame around this. There's, they were taught all kinds of incorrect information about being intimate with their partners. And there's another interesting thing that happens with a lot of women, and that has to do with our hormones. Your wife's hormones fluctuate throughout the month. And there are going to be times when she's not going to be interested, and there are going to be times when it's just not good, but you can work through this. Again, if women who've just given birth, I don't know what doctor said 6 weeks, obviously it was a man, because you might be physically ready to resume intimate relations with your partner, but you're not necessarily emotionally ready or hormonally ready to do this. You might be exhausted, because newborns are exhausting. And so and by the way, that means you can get into a habit of not being intimate with your partner. Another thing that happens, and it's about 50% of women, we don't follow the natural desire, arousal, orgasm, rest. About 50% of us need to be physically aroused before we actually feel desire for sex. And so I remember a long time ago, I was on a retreat with some of my colleagues, and there were 4 of us sharing a room, and we got talking about this, and 2 of us said, if it wasn't an absolute no, then it was a yes, because once we got going, we might start to really get into it, because we were part of the 50% of the women who didn't, who needed to be physically aroused before we felt desire. And I know, guys, that can be really, really hard, because you want your wife to initiate sex with you. And that's another reason why sometimes marriages become sexless, is because it becomes this tug of war of who's going to initiate, because nobody wants to be rejected. Come on, it feels awful. All right. And guys, I'm going to tell you that that's also one of the things that if you only touch your wife in a sexual way, then she's not going to let you touch her, because she goes, I know where that's going to lead. I'm going to shut it down. Or if she normally or frequently says, yes, we can go have some fun, and then one day she tells you, no, I'm tired, I don't want to, whatever her reasons are, and you don't take it well. Okay, that does not make her feel safe. And that's one of the things that a lot of women need, is that we need to feel emotionally safe. We need it to be okay. We need to be able to say no, even to our husbands who we love. But we're talking about some things not specifically related to no sex or very, very limited sex. And, this is probably not something that's going to get better with time, unless, of course, you've got a newborn, and eventually, the newborn is not going to be quite as exhausting. Or you might have just a regular level of stress. Maybe a family member is ill, or some other specific reason that you can point to that it's a timing thing. But part of it is getting into the habit, or getting out of the habit more so. But you are not going to be able to solve this by just letting it go. And your partner may be really, really good at shutting you down when you bring up to them that you are struggling with this aspect of your relationship. Okay. And the answer isn't necessarily like the wife of one of my clients said to him. It's like, well, it would be okay if you went and had sex with somebody else. He goes, that was devastating for him to hear. He was not interested in hearing that. That hurt him terribly, terribly deeply, because it isn't just about being physical with somebody. It's about connecting with them emotionally. It's about being, being with somebody that you love, and their partners are not interchangeable with somebody off the street. That's really, really, um, it's really, really hard to hear. So if you are the person who's wanting more intimacy, more connection, more sex with your partner, you're going to have to take the bulls by the horn. You're going to have to calmly and consistently bring this up, because having that conversation shut down makes your partner comfortable, but it does not make you comfortable. Okay. But if they are consistently able to shut down the conversation, they're okay. Right? I'm not uncomfortable. I don't have to do anything different. I don't have to deal with this pain that my partner's feeling. It's like, and I know you can be afraid that it means the relationship will end. You know what? That is a risk. That is a real possibility. But as Robin Williams once said, the worst thing isn't being alone. It's being alone when you're in a relationship. Okay? That is incredibly painful. So let me know your thoughts. Please share down in the comments how this is landing for you. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you're looking for some help. Sometimes it's a relationship issue. Sometimes it's a physiological issue. Sometimes it's an internal issue. If somebody has been a victim of sexual abuse, there can be all kinds of trauma still attached with that. But all of these things can be worked through if you're willing to make the effort. And if you love your partner and your partner loves you, then that's a good place to start. So hopefully you found this helpful. And until next week, stay loving.